Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Bridget Bergen, as many of you know, International Contemporary Ensemble's Production and Communications Manager. I also want to welcome everyone that's tuning in on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, everyone from Ensemble Evolution that is here with us today. We are so grateful to have this panel, IFCA Connections, in order to learn more about the Iranian Female Composers Association and the work of two IFCA members, Elshan Ghassemi and Nasim Khorsani. Let me start off by telling you a little bit about IFCA. The Iranian Female Composers Association was established in 2017 by three female-identifying Iranian composers, Anahita Abbasi, Nilufar Nubrash, and Aida Shirazi. In 2017, Nourvash started thinking of building an association that builds a community between the first generation of active Iranian female composers, as she lacked mentorship herself, growing up in Iran as a female identifying composer. Nourvash reached out to Anahita Abbasi and Aida Shirazi via social platforms. Their partnership grew and the three composers established IFCA together. IFCA currently has about 50 members who live and work across the globe, which is crazy and amazing. I remember just last year, it was like 30 to 40, and now it's 50. It's like really awesome. IFCA is designed to enrich the community of contemporary art and music. Its mission is to empower Iranian women and non-binary creators in music and the arts by fostering originality, honoring diversity, and strengthening equality. Since its establishment, IFCA's music has been featured at numerous festivals and venues, including the Direct Current Festival in Kennedy Center and Mostly Mozart Festival in Lincoln Center. Within the past 3.5 years, more artists have joined IFCA and the community has been expanding. The International Contemporary Ensemble has been really fortunate to develop a partnership with IFCA since 2017, after IFCA's first showcase at National Sawdust in Brooklyn, New York. Since then, we have produced and created many documentaries about IFCA members, which will still continue, presented work at the New York Public Library for Performing Arts, the Smithsonian Freer Gallery, recently an online concert, an upcoming debut album release to celebrate our partnership. The list goes on and on. In our regular conversations with the founding members of IFCA, we are advancing our partnership by creating ways to form introductions and collaborations with many of the newest members of the association and also members that we just haven't had a chance to connect with. And that is happening today. We are so excited to meet Elshan and Nasim in this EVO 2021 context. And again, we are fortunate to IFCA for fostering the community and network of amazing composers all around the world to not only program music from, but to also collaborate with. And so I'll let Aida take it away from here to tell you more about the history, background, and upcoming projects related to IFCA. So, and Nilufar too. So Nilufar and Aida, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you, International Contemporary Ensemble, for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So today I thought, both Nilufar and I thought we would share a few points with you about IFCA that we find worth sharing, actually. So I'm just going to mention them. One of the things that we find really amazing about IFCA is that in time, it has become a network of composers who constantly learn from each other. And we think being part of this space, being such a space, is really, really wonderful for all of us equally. And this network of creators that support each other's works and projects has become a space that allows for collaborations to take place in a very natural and organic manner. And by that, I mean that every member of IFCA is able to start any collaboration with other members, and we are here to support them in their path, in any form and capacity that we are able to. IFCA is one of few organizations that has helped connect the Iranians living inside Iran with the Iranian diaspora all over the world. And through this connection, parallel identities of Iranianness that are, of course, very diverse, and they also happen to be very different, converge and exchange ideas and work together. So this is also extremely valuable thing that we are actually very, very proud of. And over the years, we have witnessed collaborations that take place independent from IFCA as an organizer, but they come to be because of the space that has been created through, provided through IFCA for these composers and performers and creators just in general. And another extremely valuable point about IFCA is that it's a safe space where its members can see, hear, and follow each other. They can discuss each other's work without any judgment. So that's also an extremely important point that we thought we would share with you. And by that, I just hand it over to Nilufar so she would continue. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ida. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Bridget Ross International Contemporary Ensemble, for inviting IFCA into this wonderful platform. So Ida mentioned a few important characteristics of IFCA that makes it a very unique organization, and I just wanted to share with you some observations that we've witnessed over the past 4 years that we think is really important. So I think social media and public engagements play a very important role in connecting similar-minded creators and artists that want to be part of IFCA or have collaborations with IFCA. As an example, Elshan, who you will hear from her today, got to find us through a German radio program about IFCA's collaboration with Towards Sound exhibition in Berlin. I mean, you do these like little talks and radio programs, and you don't think it's going to reach someone who's going to, connect with you, and that's just really wonderful that connection happened. And myself, Ida, and Anahita actually found each other on Facebook as well, and we connected and collaborated together without actually seeing each other in person, which is really interesting as well. Looking into the future, one of the things that still haven't really been resolved is that IFCA is not looked at positively in the established music scene of Iran. And it invites many controversies and heated discussions. A lot of people in Iran think that IFCA is actually a platform that encourages gender discrimination, and so we would like to address these more in the future, and we want to actually be able to see more initiatives like IFCA in Iran to take place, and not just in the music scene but other areas and subject matters. And we hope to as we've seen that this approach to IFCA has changed, of course, but it's still very slow, and we just hope that it will change. In our goals, we would like to get better at fundraising, and we've been able to introduce many of our composers to the ensembles all across the world, and they've commissioned our composers, but because of our limited budgets, we haven't been able to do as much commissioning as we wanted to do, and so that's one of the things that we would like to address in the coming years. One wonderful thing that happened over the COVID time is that we started a series, Iranian Women in Music, which was a collaboration that we started with Female Voice of Iran. This was a research forum in the form of online discussions, panels, and interviews with ethnomusicologists, instrumentalists, composers, and singers in different regions of Iran and abroad, focusing on gender issues in post-revolutionary Iran's music scene. And we really hope to continue this series and expand IFCA into a web of connections between not only the composers, but also performers and researchers in different disciplines. With that, I will pass it on to Bridget to introduce our next presenter.
Thank you so much, Nilüfer and Aida. I'm so excited to introduce Elshan Gassimi, who's a tar virtuoso, composer, performance artist, and master of classical Iranian music. At the age of 9, she began studying at the Tehran Conservatory of Music. In her final year of study, before continuing her education at the Tehran University of Art and Sculpture, Gassimi became the youngest member of the Iranian National Orchestra under the direction of Farhad Fakhreddini at the age of 17. During her studies, Gassim deepened her knowledge of the radif, which is the repertoire of classical Iranian music, improvisation, and tar playing with different masters. In Baku, Azerbaijan, she continued her education by learning the mugam and Caucasian tar. Since 2016, Gassimi lives in Tehran and Berlin, performing both as a soloist in her collaborations with other musicians. Her concerts have taken her to Radial System Berlin, the Kölner Philharmonie, Resonanzraum in Hamburg, Podium Festival Esslingen, and Bundeskunsthalle Bonn, among others. Thank you so much for being here, Elshan, and we're so excited to learn more about your practice and your art.
Thank you so very much, Brigitte and Aida and Nilüfer, for your kind invitation, and it's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you and Ensemble Evolution. I'm going to talk about a bit about one of my concept album that the name is Edis Miniatures, Ein Garten singende Dinge. If I want to give a raw translation to English, a garden of singing things. But before, I would like to share some words about my musical background. So I'm coming from a very old Eastern culture and educational system that you started from very early age with an instrument, with a master, and from minimum 5 to 10 years working with this master, learning techniques and ornaments of this music. And then you change to another master, and through another narration of this repertoire. Although I had both educational system, Eastern and Western, parallel, but I always had a tendency to this Eastern part, and it gave a deep philosophy and mentality in my music and composition. I would like some word to share with you some word about this Iranian classical repertoire. We call it radif, and if I want to translate it to English, it means order or ranking, and it's a collection of hundreds of short melodies that doesn't belong to the special time, historical time in Iran. It's some of this melodies very old. We don't know which period it's really come from, but it's a collection. It's like a treasure. In this concept album, I got lots of inspiration of radif. It was around 2016 that a historian and curator contacted me from Germany, who worked on an archive of a programmer, researcher, mystic, biochemist from Morocco, El Abi Buktib, who died exactly in this year, 2016. And this curator told me that he's going to make an archive of his works, and he invites me to to the room of this man. I mean, El Abi Buktib. It was an amazing travel for me because it was a big room full of thousands of objects that very, very special that he used for his research and writing books and etc. So I choose 19 objects of this man with this curator, and then I started to compose for it. For each object, I composed a very short melody, unfinished melody, around 1 minute, sometime less, sometime more than 1 minute. And I say unfinished because this researcher never ended a project in his life. He did lots of things, he wrote lots of things, but never finished it. So he started doing something, and between the way he switched to other projects. And after composing, I asked one of my friends, Michał Martyszowicz, he's from Poland, who take a photography, who take photos from this object. And then we decided to present this project in a concert format. So the video or the melodies that I'm going to share with you, it's from this concert. First, it comes the name of this object, and then the photo, and then I'm going to play this melody for you that I composed for each object. I composed for the instrument tar. It's one of the main instrument in Iranian classical music. I say main instrument because most of the document that we have about the theory of this music is based on this instrument. And yeah, and now from this 19 melodies, I choose somehow 7 of those to share with you. Oops. Thank you so very much.
Wow, thank you so much. I put this in the chat, but thank you for sharing all of that with us. It's really beautiful. And I should also note that if anyone starts to have any questions about, what you just heard or, anything earlier in the conversation, please feel free to put that in the chat, and we'll get to questions towards the end of our time together. And now I'm really excited again to introduce Nasim Khorasani, who is an Iranian composer, currently studying her PhD in music composition with Katerina Rosenberger and Marcos Bolter at the University of California, San Diego. She studied her second master's with Andrew Rindfleisch and Greg D'Alessio at Cleveland State University. The University of Tehran was where she gained her first master's and studied composition with Mohammad Reza Tafazoli, Kiavesh Sahabid Nasak, and Sarah Abozari. Mainly as a self-taught composer, Nassim started composing since the age of 8. However, her works did not receive any performance in Iran until 2016 when she moved to the United States. Since then, she has received various commissions from No Exit New Music Ensemble, Del Sol String Quartet, Patchwork Duo, Zeitgeist, and Loudwing. Thank you so much for being here today, Nassim, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about your work.
Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be here. It's a big honor. And also thanks for IFCA for connecting us together to know that how these amazing, wonderful women composers in Iran that we've never been aware of. So I would like to share a PowerPoint to keep my presentation organized. Okay. So what I can tell about my work is, first of all, that every piece I follow a different approach, and but in order to come up with a brief definition of my work, I can tell like 5 words about my style of composition, that I tend to be minimal in different aspects that also changes every time. And there is also one element of visuality involved in my work in different ways. Audience is a big part of my composition thoughts and process. And recently, I've been also involved with thinking about theatrical material and also involved with poetry. About minimal, I can tell that the examples of my minimal approach was like one piece is Growth for string trio that I revised for No Exit Ensemble, that it's based on just 4 pitches, B, C, D, and E flat. And then I have this piece Line in 2018 that is just based on one single pitch, E2. And also Rock Cloud is minimal in the case that is just on the use of pizzicatos on the strings, which I'm gonna play it for you. And I also need to mention that performance was done by Del Sol String Quartet. Yeah, so grateful for that. About images, I can tell like Sketches was the piece I wrote for No Exit New Music Ensemble. And for composing this piece, I ended up doing some photographies, which was the first time I was trying some sort of process like that. I realized that the timbre that I hear in my mind is something that I can find it and see it in some sort of textures on the walls and on the floors. I started taking some photos of those timbres and then studied them, and they became a part of form and part of the piece that during the performance, these photos will be projected. And also, one other example of a visual involvement or graphic, I would say, is in the process of the background of thinking about the piece I had for my first year at UCSD called Unknown. So I started drawing this sound that I was hearing so I can see it, so I can study that sound better. And one more example is the piece Line again, but in the way that I use the way my relationship with graphics in my notation. It wasn't supposed to be this sort of notation. It was supposed to be paper and conventional type, but it ended up a very complex network. And so this video was only presented for the performers. They were watching it by through their individual monitors, and it has GIFs, has some images, so they it connects these reference materials and images together for the performers to understand how to present and play that single E2 here. So this is the part that the performers are reading, but on the other hand, they also have these sections that they can refer to. And one other part of me is that my interest in making puzzles and doing puzzle games. So in another approach, I would like to create that sort of experience for my audience. I think the best example of that sort of approach to composition would be my Tehran time zone, 7 a.m. Tehran time zone. That's a representation of a Friday morning of our family. And for this piece, I put a table of tea on the middle, and there are 6 performers standing around it. And also we ask for 6 volunteer audience to come and sit around the table. And this part is an example of the instruction I put on the table for the audience. So even non-musicians can perform this piece. This is the instruction that I have for second audience with the timing. I put a timer there, or I end up conducting the piece. So the audience performs this part, but this is the score that the performers will see, the musicians, but the audience will have only this part. And yeah, about my engagement with poetry, I started trying looking at poetry in a different way from, I think, 2 years ago, that primary call for written for Zeitgeist was my first experience. And then I wrote Faryad for Load Bang Ensemble. None of them have been performed yet, but I'm really grateful for those musicians that giving me this commission. For primary call, I'm using a poetry primary call by Sohrab Sepehri, that is a modern poetry, modern Persian poetry. And you see, what you see in the score is the part for the instruments, clarinet, which is also bass clarinet and half clarinet, and then piano and percussions. But this part is a reference to the text, that I'm changing the rhythm of the text, and there is no word being recited in this piece. So I'm transforming the words, transforming the poetry to the instrumental sounds. Yeah, that's what I say. And I put here the text just for the reference and just to guide the musicians. But for Faryad, I had a baritone vocalist, and as well as the instruments. So I took advantage of amazing Jeff vocalist that we sketched a lot to end up to this sort of notation for him. And then based on his part, I composed the rest of the parts. And these are my sketches, how I studied or maybe analyzed the poetry into different timbral qualities, so I can see what is going on in the background layer of the poetry, and shaping the form, shaping the style of my music. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nassim. It's really great to see, you know, really looking into your scores and understanding how poetry and imagery relate to your work. So thank you for sharing all of that. And right now we're going to move into sort of Q&A section of our time together. So I'm going to say goodbye to people who are tuning in on YouTube. Thank you. And we'll continue here for the